Hello everybody, welcome back once again. I've got another guide for you here. This will be hopefully a quick one on Tactocs Ogre Reborn. So this is the one I've actually been playing this quite a bit lately, and I wanted to kind of share some of the things that I learned over the course of playing. I played the PSP just a very little bit, and that was already so many years ago that I didn't remember anything about the game. But I think that this one's got some advantages to it and some disadvantages. But let's just start off with the tips. Again, this is going to be really tips for newer players, and again, mostly just kind of sharing the things that I learned and my opinions on it. The first thing that I wanted to bring up is which route you should play. In my opinion, and I looked at some other people's thoughts on this, and I actually disagree with the route that I took. I actually did a neutral playthrough first, and I don't think that was the best way to do. I think that law is actually the best choice. I had read that it was a good idea to go neutral because in going with the neutral playthrough, one of the characters, specifically Aracel, her loyalty really drops when you take that choice, and so it's kind of a better idea to go with that, or to do that first, and then repair her loyalty, and then not have to worry about it. I don't think it's as big of a deal as it was made out to be. It's just so easy to repair your loyalty that even I think if you do that towards the end, that you'll be fine. So again, I don't think that law, or that neutral certainly is the best way. I think law is actually the best path to go down first. I just think that there's so many good characters that come from the law route that I would recommend that. The first character that you can get on law is Zapan. He's actually in chapter 2. Actually, I'll just go through all of the different law specifically if I can find this. Yeah, so Zapan is the first recruit. You notice here he's only level 21, and I've already played through the game like 3 times. And I just never even ended up using him, because by the time I got him, I just didn't care. And honestly, I don't really like the Berserker class that much. It's great, but it's melee, and I think it's melee only. I think, can these guys even get crossbows? Maybe they can get crossbows. No, they can't even use a crossbow. So melee only, which I do not like. They do great damage, and they can do AoEs. Basically, with Berserk and Sanguine Assault, they can actually pump out a lot of damage, but I just think that they're not having any sort of range is a major detriment, in my opinion. And I actually don't really like their weapon choices that much, although they do get daggers. So that's at least something. And actually, I think I should have done this here. There you go. But yeah. So, anyways, Zapan is the first one that you can get law. Next up is Yunin. Yunin is law as well. This is chapter 3 though. Ravenous you can get in chapter 3 as well. Vice, where is Vice? Here's my boy Vice. Actually, never end up using him either. Vice is chapter 3 law. Aracel is actually chapter 3 law as well. And she is the one that loses a ton of loyalty during a neutral playthrough, but it's not a big deal because you can actually just repair that by... Basically, loyalty is really easy to gain by gaining weapon skills. Actually just leveling up their weapon skills. So, like, let's just say I've got her as archer, right? Sure, her bow is already capped, but her dagger has 5 levels to go. One of the other things that you could do is put a crossbow on her, and just level up your crossbow, and that'll bump up her loyalty as well. One of the ways that you can check loyalty is actually by using the select button and then hovering over their name itself. It says this unit backs your every decision. You can check, there's different loyalty tiers, and I don't know all of the different ones, but basically she's very loyal to me at this point. But anyways, moving on to the characters that we can, or more of the characters that we can get is Mirrodin. Where's Mirrodin? Mirrodin is right here. He's a white knight. White knights are amazing. So he's great for law. Also, Gildas. Gildas actually is a better white knight than Mirrodin, in my opinion. Gildas is obtained in Chapter 3 law as well. And then you've got Hobram. He's Chapter 3 law as well. And he's a requirement to recruit Oz, and Oz is one of the best characters, or Ozma. It's one of the best characters in the game. So, Chapter 4, law, let's see here, is, I think, is it only, so it's Ozma. Ozma for sure. Ozma for sure is law. And then Ashion, where is she? Where's Ashion? Ashion's down here. So she's a beast tamer. By the time I actually got to her, I never ended up using her. But also, I think had I got her in my initial playthrough, I may have used her more. Because Beastmasters actually, or Beast Tamers, are pretty good. Obviously, you can actually, you know, she could change into something else as well, but that's her base. So, anyways, yeah. So that's my opinion. First is again, go law. Yeah, go law. All right, Chariot. Let's go into a battle here really quickly, and I'll just show you Chariot. Chariot is very important. I definitely recommend using it. Don't do what I did. So in the PSP version of the game, Chariot, there was a title for not using Chariot at all, but that's gone in this version of the game. So there is no reason to not use Chariot. And it's actually very important for a lot of reasons. So basically Chariot here, so let's just take a turn here with Ozma. We'll use Rail against here. Block. Alright, well I got lucky there and blocked that. Look at this. Look at this monster. She's blocking everything. Alright, well, there would be no reason to Chariot that, but let's move here, and then I don't know, I'll accidentally, oh no, oops, I accidentally used the Mending Essence, right, and it didn't actually do anything. Well, so let's Chariot back. So you hit start, go to the Chariot turret, and then you can choose. Basically, it ends. I think that the game remembers your last 50 turns, and so we'll just Chariot back to Gildas's turn, right? And then okay, we'll move to the same spot, and then this time I'll do something else, and I'll throw a stone at this turn. Take that. So that's Chariot. Basically, you know, it's a way to kind of rewind your turn if you screw something up, or another great thing that you can do with it is if you're looking for a specific drop from an enemy, you can kill the enemy, and then either, you know, if you haven't moved, then you can move to the bag if a bag drops, and then pick up the bag. And then if it's got the item that you want, great, but if it doesn't, you can Chariot back to that character's turn, and then what you actually want to do is move to a different spot. So let's just say I moved here, and then, I don't know, somehow was able to I'm going to kill this guy with a stone, right? Okay, so then he drops the bag. Since I've already moved, though, I wouldn't be able to pick up the bag. So it would be then Olivia's maybe turn to possibly pick up that bag. But if it doesn't drop the item that I want, you just Chariot back to Uria's turn. And then, I don't know, maybe move here instead. And that's the key, though. You need to take a different, or you need to do things a little bit differently. You can't just walk to the same spot again and expect to get a different reward. It won't work like that. At the very least, you could move to a different spot, and then, you know, and then try to get it. So that's the Chariot, and also, you know, just from a tactics point of view, Chariot is really important. Like, I don't know, maybe you move too far ahead, right, and into the range of, I don't know, the boss or something, and you get smeared. And you're trying to go with no incapacitations. Well, then you'll just want to Chariot out of, you know, Chariot that character's turn back, and do things a little bit differently. But again, very important. I struggled my way through my first playthrough on neutral and did a no Chariot run, and that was terrible because I did no Chariot, no incapacitations, and it's not worth it. All right. Next up, dagger and bow. All right, so I've got little notes here on weapon types and stuff. It's my opinion that dagger and bows are the best weapons in the game, specifically for their finishers. Dagger has so Shadow Pin stops enemies, Heart Crusher is nice because the range is 2 to 3. Shadow Pin stops. Double Fang, I actually don't think that this one's all that great. It's strong, but it's not that great. And then Overwhelm is amazing because of the range. It does just an absolute ton of damage. And you can see here, so Heart Crusher also is wind elemental. So like characters that are wind elemental will deal a little bit more damage with this. This is also slashing damage. This is piercing. We're back to slashing on Double Fang, and then piercing on Overwhelm. That's kind of important. So you basically have 2 different types of damage, right? It's slashing or piercing that your finishers are going to do. That gets a little bit weird. It's mostly the case that your tanks are gonna take more damage with crushing, and so Dagger's not going to be able to get you crushing damage in any way. But there's other ways to deal with that I think that works out fine. All right, so bows. You've got Dark Weight, which and I should say, some of these, again, like Shadow Pin, some of the finishers will have like additional effects and status effects. Again, Shadow Pin is amazing because it stops. That's amazing. I love this ability. Next up, though, so let's talk bows. So Dark Weight, this will do Laden, which I don't know. It's not that great, but it's okay. Laden will work on bosses as well. Basically, it'll make it so that their movement gets reduced. And then I think it's like flying units can't fly anymore or something like that. Not all that great, but it can be at least kind of a way to make sure that enemies don't get to you as quickly. So again, very especially early on. Like I think Dark Weight was one of the first finishers that I got, and I was like, oh my god, this is like a game changer, right? I love it. But yeah, they just keep getting better. Next up is at level 20 is Slumber Shot, and I should say. Basically let's back up a little bit. So Union level is basically the maximum level that your characters can get. Union level, mine is level 50 right now, meaning my characters can get to level 50 and I can't go beyond that. Actually, I don't know if that's the cap or not. It might be. But early on in the game, your Union level will be like 5, right, when you first start. That means that your characters can hit level 5 and then they're capped. And then as the story progresses, your Union level will raise, meaning your character's levels will be able to raise as well. The thing how that ties into your weapons is that your weapon skills are capped based on your Union level as well. So if you've got a Union level of 5, that means that your dagger will only be able to get up to rank 5, which also means that you wouldn't be able to get any finishers because your first finisher isn't obtained until level 10. Your second finisher is level 20, meaning your character's level and your weapon skill, would be, 20. And then then it's 30 and 40. So anyways, back to bows specifically. Slumber Shot is amazing. This is crushing damage, which, if you're looking for a way to do some crushing damage, Slumber Shot will do that, but also it has a chance to put the target to sleep. It's amazing. Basically, especially if you're trying to do like a no incapacitations, just being able to reduce the incoming damage by putting an enemy to sleep is a big deal. Next up is Flaming Blast. This one is Fire Elemental, so basically if your character is a Fire Elemental, innate, your character is a Fire Elemental, this will do more damage. But more importantly, this has ability to charm, or has a chance to charm your enemy. Fantastic. And then on top of that, its range is 4 to 8. I just love this ability. This is one of my favorite abilities in the game. Charm is devastating, especially if you're going for no incapacitations, because not only does it make it so that the enemy isn't going to attack you, it'll actually, in most cases, attack another enemy instead. So fantastic ability. And then last here is Imperial Shot. Lightning Elemental, so here my Denim is a Lightning Elemental as well, so he'll do even more damage with this. And then on top of that, it has the ability to stop. Stop is definitely better than Sleep. And this is all, so the first one is piercing damage, and then the next two are crushing. And then you've got Fire and Lightning on the last two. So Stop is better than Sleep, obviously, or maybe it's not obvious, but it is better. Because you can still damage an enemy that's stopped, and It doesn't like wake them up in the way that damaging an enemy that has slept. Unfortunately, damage on an enemy that's charmed will also break charm. But yeah, so I guess just keep that in mind. But yeah, just phenomenal ability. So again, that's the reason why I think daggers and bows are the best. The only problem that I would say, or the only negative to the daggers and the bows, is that they don't have any sort of AoE damage like some of the other weapon types do. But I definitely think the trade-off is worth it. Stop is devastating, and same with charm. So again, that's my opinion on the weapon types. All right, next up I've got a Guardian, or a Knight with Guardian and Phalanx. So let's take a look at Folkert here. The reason why this combo is so good is, so Phalanx says it reduces HP damage taken by 80% until the next turn, and then Guardian forces redirect 50% of the damage taken by friendly unit within 2 tiles to the target unit until the next attack turn. So basically, you can stand, as long as you're standing close enough to other units, Folkert will reduce the damage taken from that other character, especially like squishies, right? Like if you've got a bunch of mages, which I think the mages are amazing in this game. You can basically take some of the damage that's coming to them and redirect it to Folkert, but also the Phalanx will reduce the damage taken as well. So I think that's a really strong combo. The only other thing that I would have done with Folkert is gone with a hammer instead. I think that the hammer is probably the better weapon type for a knight. I forget which one, but one of their finishers does the weaken status effect, which reduces the damage that enemy will put out. So I really think that, as I'll be honest, I didn't actually end up using this combo, but it is amazing, and I kind of wish that I would have. It took me a while to kind of to figure that out, but yeah, again, I think a hammer on a knight, you might as well go with the shield, and then do the Phalanx, Guardian Force, and actually do Rampart or Aura as well, which will make it so that enemies can't get past your tank without, basically losing an extra turn. There's a way to even kind of mess with enemies even a little bit more. Basically, as the enemies come towards your tank and they step into Rampant Aura, on Folkert's following turn, you can actually take one step back, and it'll make them repeat the process, right? So you can keep moving your line and all of your characters if you wanted to back one square to keep enemies from you. That doesn't last forever, but it's a good way to, keep enemies away from you. All right, next up I've got Flood and Fire Dragon. The two dragons that are just phenomenal are the Flood and the Flame Dragon. So the Flame Dragon, specifically because it's got Flame Breath, sorry. Basically the reason why I think that this is great is it's an AoE weaken. The MP cost is pretty steep, with 50. You can do Flame Breath 1 first. This isn't as good because the range is only 1 to 2. Whereas the Flame Breath basically hits more enemies. You can actually hit 5 enemies with Flame Breath, whereas you can only hit 2 enemies potentially with Flame Breath 1. And then the mana cost is reduced, obviously, for the first tier. But yeah, very, very good ability. I really like it for hitting bosses as well. One of the things that I did also on my Flame Dragon was I actually equipped it with a brand of the Sacrifice. This is an item. These are buyable, and I think that these are great, especially again if you're kind of in range of a boss. You can run up and then use the brand of the Sacrifice on that boss, and it's going to really reduce their damage. And you can count on that. Whereas, and I would say the only issue with Flame Breath is this doesn't always trigger Weaken. Whereas again, Brand of the Sacrifice will. So something good to keep on them. Also, I would use Rampart Aura again, kind of same deal as with the Knight. Obviously, it's going to keep your squishies safe. And then Dragon's Eye is going to make it so that your breath attack is going to actually always hit. It says 100% accuracy, prevent them from being parried or deflected. You want to be landing that. And then Dragon Scale 3 reduces HP. This is amazing. Reduces damage taken by 30% until the next attack turn, and reflects all damage taken to the attacker. This is nuts, and it's silly how many times the AI will target your dragon, even though it's got Dragon Scale, and like basically nuke itself. It's crazy. I was reading somewhere about, you know, oh, the AI is improved. And I mean, maybe it's improved, but it's still really stupid. And oftentimes will do really stupid things like attacking, you know, a dragon with Dragon Scale up. But next up is the Flood Dragon. So basically it's the same thing as the Flame Dragon. The only difference is instead of the Flame Breath, it's got Acid Breath, and this will Breach. Breach is one of the more important status effects in the game that really reduces the defense of a unit. So this is great against other tanks. It's not the best way to apply that, but it is really good. One of the other things that I excuse me, should have equipped here was I don't know if I actually have one here, but it's a Dynast King's Mead. It does the same thing. Oh, I bet I don't have one. Yeah, I don't have one. I must have used them all. But anyways, it would have been very similar to the Flame Dragon. So the Brand of Sacrifice does weaken. A Dynast King's Mead, which again are buyable, will actually inflict Breach. And so that would be a great item to have whenever you really need to get a Breach to land. Otherwise, you know, relying on Acid Breath maybe isn't the best way to go, but at least with Acid Breath you can use or hit multiple enemies potentially with Breach. So again, those are my two, and I would definitely recommend getting one of each of these at least. Next up, Elemental type. I actually have already touched on this just a little bit, but your characters all have elements. You can change these. Generally, there are some exceptions, but here you can see, air beats earth, earth beats lightning, lightning beats water, so on and so forth. Most of the time that's not really going to matter, but if you can, you want to pair up your element with your spells. So like for a long time, and I've had Denim as a ninja almost the entire game, but Denim as a ninja and a lightning elemental, you're going to do more damage with Chimera, because this is a lightning type, and you'll do more damage with that excuse me, than say like a sand spider. That's mostly going to be the case. Some of these have different, like some of these are slashing, some of them are crushing, and so there's going to be some wonkiness with that, but it's generally the case that you're going to be dealing more damage with your elemental type, so keep that in mind. But also that's not it's not something to stress all that much about. It's more like, again, so like Kashua is Earth Elemental right now, so you're going to want to have Cragfall on her instead of Firestorm, for instance. Next up, let's see here. Canopus, I've got Canopus as Vartan. Canopus joins you, and he is a Vartan already, and I don't think it's even, I don't think it makes any sense really whatsoever to change from that. Vartan gets phenomenal growth, and then on top of that, he's got the ability to equip daggers and bows. And again, I've already been over why I think that is good, because daggers and bows are amazing. I've got Huapango, Winds, and El Colas. These two aren't that necessary. It's kind of nice, right? Especially like True Strike is kind of nice and air touched. Just make sure that he's not missing. That's better of the two. Huapango Winds is fine, but you're not going to get probably that much use out of that. And then he is already a wind elemental type, so it really helps that you'll want to put Dead Shot on him. I didn't really cast with him that much, but I did more at the beginning of the game. So yeah. Also, Heart Crusher, since it's wind elemental, he'll do a little bit more damage with that. So I guess just keep that in mind. But again, yeah, I would say go dagger bow for Canopus and leave him as a Vartan. Also, he's a flying type, and so he can, you know, fly to really high spots so that, you know, enemies can't get to him, and he can just kind of rain death from above. So, again, I really, really like Canopus and really recommend using him. Next up, I've got Baldur blowguns. Alright, so Baldur blowguns become available to craft. I believe it's Chapter 2. But what you'll want to do here is go into craft, go into ranged, and then here's the Baldur blowgun. Yeah, so it says you need ranged weapons too. Again, I think that's in Chapter 2. Don't quote me on that, but I don't remember exactly where it is. But Baldur blowguns are amazing to craft because you will always get more money when you sell them. So I'll craft 10 of them here. So it's going to cost 24,500 goth to craft these. We'll just say no. And then we'll just go and sell all of them. Baldur blowguns, probably at the bottom. Yep, all 10. There you go, 64,000. We're getting basically 3 times as much. Not quite, but pretty much 3 times as much for selling those. So again, and that's a way to get infinite goth, right? And early on in the game, and that's obvious why that's so good, but also then that makes it so that you can get a lot of, you know, you'll be able to buy a lot of healing items and really kind of whatever you want. So again, just keep that in mind. Baldur blowguns is the way to get infinite cash. And then, all right, next up here, I've got clerics or beastmaster with lobber. I did use clerics the entire time. I know some other people sometimes like to use to use beastmasters with lobber instead. I actually prefer the clerics because they get exorcism, and then later they get exorcism too. And there's going to be a lot of levels where you're going to need to exorcise undead. And again, I just think it's important to actually have a couple of clerics around to do that. Also, clerics are nice because you're not going to be, you know, constantly using items. And also, well, I mean, that's not actually that big of a deal, right, with the infinite cash trick. But being able to heal multiple allies at once is pretty nice. The only problem with clerics is that if you're not getting Mother's Blessing to trigger, it can be difficult to actually do any decent amount of healing. Heals don't really scale that well, meaning, you know, at the beginning of the game, you know, whatever, let's just say heal is probably only gonna heal like around 100 health, and then heal 2 probably is like 150, maybe not quite that much, maybe like 130, 140. And then heal 3 is probably going to heal like 170. So they just don't really scale that much. And so you really need Mother's Blessing to be triggering, otherwise you're just not going to be healing that much. And Mother's Blessing actually doubles the amount of healing that one of these spells does. So, you know, again, if that's not triggering, you're not going to be healing for much. And at that point, things like Mending Essence can vastly outperform a cleric, because it says restore all HP to a single target. And, you know, on something like a dragon that's got, you know, I don't know, yeah, I guess 2,500 health at the end of the game, a basic heal spell is basically not going to do anything for him, right? It's only going to restore about 100 health. And so, you know, at least at the end of the game, you know, items really outclass, you know, healing spells. So I guess keep that in mind. Probably one of the better healers in the game would be a winged class character, or a winged character with, and that's a beastmaster, or beast tamer. I'm sorry, I always want to say beastmaster, but beast tamer. And then you put lobber on him. Basically, lobber allows you to throw items, very similar to the chemist in Final Fantasy Tactics. So you'll actually be able to heal from range, and you won't have to just stand right next to the character. You can see their range of 3 to 7. That's pretty good. So a really, really good way to heal, you know. And then on top of that, the winged characters, you know, it's just really easy for them to get around. Later on in the game, you'll be able to get, what are these? Let me see if I can find one. It's like the winged boots, I think it is. Yeah, winged boots. These will allow you to fly, but you know, that's going to take some that's going to take a specific drop to actually get that. And these are they're not super difficult to get, but you know, you're probably better off if you want to do something like that to just start off with a winged character, and those are pretty easy to recruit. So yeah, that is clerics and beastmasters with Lauber. All right, next up is exorcism. Actually, I already really spoke about that. There's just a lot of levels in the game that require you to exorcise undead enemies, and so I think that's mostly, I would say, why you really want to have at least probably 2 clerics, because also a lot of times, for me anyway, I noticed that, you know, you can get a little bit behind on healing because, you know, I don't know, maybe Mother's Mother's Gift? Mother's Blessing. Mother's Blessing, if that's not triggering, you're going to start falling behind on heals, and then if you're trying to exorcise enemies as well, that can get to be a bit of a problem. So, and that's why I would say at least having 2 clerics is really, really nice. I actually ended up with kind of a third one in some cases with Kashua as a princess. She can kind of double as kind of a half caster, half healer. So she can help out basically, and you know, I mean, and it's not just her that can do that, right? You can do that with Valkyries and some other classes as well. All right, White Knights and Mages. Oh my God. White Knights are amazing. I very much regret not using them earlier. It took me a while to really use them more often. And the reason why the White Knight is so good is because of velocity shift. I wouldn't bother. I actually tried using one of these guys with a Guardian Force for a while, and I didn't really like that. They just take a lot of damage, and they just can't really take the hits like a Knight can with like Phalanx. But so it says reduce RT of friendly units within 2 tiles by 35. Basically, this just speeds characters up, and it's going to make it so that they can get their turns faster. It's amazing. I can't stress how good this is. So basically, what you want to do is have your White Knight in the center of all of your characters, and then, you know, every time though, if you're trying to move forward towards your enemies, what you want to do is you want to move your White Knight first. So like basically after they've taken their turn, then you move everybody else up with him, and that'll just make it so that when his turn comes back around, you know, as long as your characters are fast enough, he'll be able to still hit them with velocity shift. And bring, you know, your other characters' turns up faster. At the end of the game here, I actually don't even have him equipped with any weapons because I wanted his RT to be a little bit lower. You know, keep in mind that whenever you equip things, your RT goes up, and that's not a good thing. It makes it so that your turns come up slower. And so, basically, at the end of the game, I didn't actually even have him equipped with a weapon because he doesn't really get, the White Knights don't really get much weapons as far as like usable from kind of like the middle. There may have been some options, and I don't think I really gave also that much thought to it, but like I don't know if the fist finishers are any good, like if you can use those from range, but that's the problem. He's going to be kind of stuck in the middle, or at least the way that I played. He was always stuck in the middle of all of my characters, and so you know, I didn't really have any good options for finishers to use from range like that. So I don't know. Again, maybe the fist would work. It's the only thing I can really think of here. Hammers, you pretty much have to be in melee range. Crossbows are not usable, really, right? Again, if you're in the middle of your allies, you can't fire your crossbow because you're just going to be hitting your allies. So yeah. I wasn't really impressed by that. The only thing I think of is I know one of the crossbow. Oh no, that's because it's projectiles. Dang it! I was gonna say I know one of the finishers for the crossbow is range, but again, still the problem is that it's a projectile. So if you try to use that, you're gonna hit your allies instead. So, anyways, again, I just didn't even bother equipping any weapon. So. Oh, and mages. So basically you want to surround your white knights with mages because you're going to be reducing their RT, making it so that their turns come up faster, and you're going to be blowing everything apart. I'll just touch a little bit very briefly here on how I've got my mages set up. They're basically all set up the exact same way, with a wand that's got a spell range increase, right? So like this air wand, by the way, is freaking amazing. Love that weapon. And then I've basically got all of my casters equipped with daggers because again the dagger finishing moves are amazing. The gear, who cares? And then spells specifically, I've got my AoE. So the AoEs I love. These are the tier 3s. I'm sure there's better spells at this point now for her, and I'll probably get some better spells later, but. Just because I haven't collected, some of the like end game spells, I've still got her with Thunder Flare 3. But I love these because of the AOE. And then I've got Drain Heart. Drain Heart is amazing. It takes HP from your enemy, gives it to you, so it makes it so that you don't have to have a cleric necessarily healing you constantly when these when these characters are taking damage. You can take a hit and then just restore it. It's fantastic. And then Paralytic Wave. Amazing. Paralyze or Stun is fantastic because it just makes it so that enemies sometimes stumble and don't actually deal any damage on their turn. And then Charm. I think that Poison Cloud is really good as well, but I really like the CC effects, and especially Charm. Basically, again, and I've been over this when I was talking about the bows, but Charm is probably my favorite status effect in the game. It's just so great if you're trying to do no incapacitations because, it again makes it so that the enemies basically fight for you. Okay, so that was White Knights and Mages buff cards. All right, let's go back in here to another battle. I think actually the buff cards are the thing that I like the least about this game. It introduces more RNG than I think is really necessary. And can really screw you over. If let's just say a boss is rocking a skill card, 2 physical damage cards, and then some other, or 2 skill cards or 2 physical damage cards, and then another auto attack skill or another auto skill or something like that, and they pick up a crit skill. Basically, anybody that they look at is gonna die. Because they're just so devastating, and again, it can just be bad luck. So this guy's got 2 physical cards, 1 MP card, and then an auto card. So actually the next card that he would pick up would knock off his physical card, but actually again, if he picks up a crit card, that actually might be even more devastating than what he's currently set up as. He's going to do a lot of damage right now, but when you throw crits into the mix, it can get even scarier. But here's one of the cards. This is a magic card. That's going to be, obviously going to increase the damage of your spells. One of the things that you can do is you can destroy. There's a lot of different stuff in the game, like these bushes or the shrubs, and you can attack these, and it'll reveal a card. That's an MP card. Those are pretty nice, right? It's just going to make it so that your character fills up their MP even more. There's a physical card. Yeah, this guy's got 2 physical cards. That's just going to increase your physical damage. And then there's the auto skill card, which is going to make it so that your skills trigger more often. So a fantastic skill card for the White Knight is an auto skill card because it's going to make Velocity Shift trigger more often. So, yeah, I guess just keep that in mind. Again, I don't really like that. I think that's probably the worst aspect of Reborn, right? The PSP version didn't have these skill cards. And again, I just think that it introduces too much kind of RNG, and it makes it so that a lot of times it's okay, well, do I run really far away from the rest of my allies so that I can go pick up a damage card or something like that, or does it make more sense to you know, not worry about that and do something else. I don't know, I don't like that it kind of forces you into positioning your allies in bad ways a lot of times. There's also a skill card removal, and that's a red card. But there's certain times where it's like, oh man, maybe I can knock the boss into that and remove all their skill cards, but it's like a needle in a haystack. That's a bad analogy. It's very rare for that to actually end up working out for you. More times than not, it's not going to be that way, and it's actually going to be like the boss stepping on a crit card and then one-shotting your characters. So again, I don't really like that. I think that's the worst thing that they've added. All right, next up, let's talk Terror Knights. Terror Knights are very important. It's one of the better ways to inflict breach in the game. So basically what I do here is use Fearful Impact, and then I've got him equipped with a Claymore +1. My controller is whack on me here, going crazy on me. So it says on hit breached. Now, every time you just swing at an enemy, there's a chance that your Claymore will hit the enemy with a breached status effect. But if you use Fearful Impact, that it will always happen. And then on top of that, so basically what you want to do is you want to use Fearful Impact, and then just swing. It'll not only fear the enemy or frighten, it'll also breach, and that always happens when you use Fearful Impact, as long as the attack actually connects. It's horrible and absolutely freaking devastating when you use Fearful Impact, swing, and then the enemy blocks. That can completely screw, you know, your strategy, and you know, most times you're going to want to Chariot and try something else, because again, that's terrible when that ends up happening. But the other great thing about the Terror Knight is they do have Drain Heart as well. They won't do as much damage with this as like your casters will, but it's still really good. I don't know why I bothered equipping Sleep and Paralytic Wave. These guys don't have enough magic like accuracy to actually land this stuff. I think Drain Mind probably makes sense though. The last time I checked, I actually was able to drain MP from a target, so that can be great if the enemy's coming towards you and you don't want to run out to meet them. You can actually clip them with Drain Mind, grab some of their MP, and then you'll have MP for your following turn when you actually want to use Fearful Impact. So again, I think that those two are pretty fantastic spells to put on them. And I would definitely use the two-handed swords. I don't think anything else is really worth. Well, yeah, they can't use spears because you really want to have breach. I just think that that's way too good. The first, you know, two-handed sword that you can get with breach is going to be this Way Handler, and then you can upgrade to the Claymore later. So all right, that's Terror Knights. All right, items. Let's talk items. Actually, I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but some of the best items, excuse me, are the Mending Essence. And if you've got infinite cash, you'll be able to get as many of these as you want. You know, and I would definitely have a couple of them on everybody, just, you know, in case something goes wrong and you need to heal yourself. Next up would be like the MP items. These are a little bit trickier. If I can, where are they? I've used almost all of mine. So here's the Magic Essence. The problem is these, you can't buy the stuff from the store. At least I can't right now. You can't buy the stuff from the store to actually make these, and so you're going to be really limited in what you can do as far as the MP restoration items. I do have a lot of the Fruit of the Adepts. I probably made too many of these, honestly, and it just doesn't actually restore enough MP, unfortunately. All right, the next thing, actually, let's go to the shop here. Oops, here, let's go to the shop and talk. Because I know I'm missing a couple items that I think are actually really good. All right, let's see here. Oops, always hitting the wrong buttons because that's what I do. I mean, you can take a look through, you know, a bunch of this stuff, but I think some of the best items, there was the Brand of the Sacrifice. Again, I usually put this on my Flame Dragon. because that's the dragon that I'm trying to use weaken with anyway. It's not just good on them, and this is actually good for tanks. You know, if you've got a tank on your front line and you're like kind of going up against an enemy that you know is going to hit pretty hard, you can throw a brand of the sacrifice on them to reduce their damage. And then you've got the Dynast King's Mead as well with the breach. You know, probably not a bad idea again to throw on maybe your on your Terror Knight if they don't have enough mana to actually breach something. You can just use this on them instead. Same with the Flood Dragon. You know, that's you know the dragon that I'm always trying to breach with anyway, and so kind of the same thing. If you don't have enough mana to use your breath attack, you can throw a Dynast King's Mead on the target instead. So you can look at the rest of this stuff, but most of I think that these are like two of the better items to use, and these actually work really good on a Beastmaster, Beast Tamer. With Lobber as well. Actually, I mean, honestly, anybody that's got the Lobber ability, right, you can throw those items to weaken. That can be really, really good for bosses. Again, if you've got like probably like your where's my flying guy? Yeah, like this guy. My winged guy with Lobber. I could throw you know an item to weaken a boss, which you know is a really, really good way to go. God, where are those things? There it is, the brand of the sacrifice. So again, you know, the fact that these guys have such good movement and they're flying makes it so they can get to good spots to throw, you know, items. And again, weaken an enemy, especially a boss from range, is a really good strategy. All right, what do we have here? Oh, recruit skills. Recruiting, I hate it in this game. It's very annoying, and it always felt to me like the recruit, and it's probably not the case, but it always felt to me like the recruit rates were not as good as they should be. Basically, when you want to recruit things, you have to have the right skill, and then on top of that, you have to have the enemy really low on HP, and you want to be as close as you can, or as you can get to them. The best chances that you've got is like when the enemy is flashing in red, you know, because they're at 10% HP or less, and then you're right next to them. There's actually another factor, which I think is their loyalty. The lower their loyalty, I believe it is, the higher your chances to recruit. But the best chances that I remember seeing was like around I think I had like a 35% chance to recruit a couple of enemies. I don't know. I think maybe, yeah, it's all about luck, right? And it can be tough to, and also I think actually also the problem with you know recruiting is that I was trying to play no incapacitations, and so you know you're kind of working against yourself because you're knocking the enemy really, really low on health, and then if you're not careful, you'll recruit the enemy, and then they'll get killed and incapacitated. So that's very, very annoying, and so the whole process to me was just really obnoxious, and I didn't really like it. But the best thing to do is if you want to get like if you're trying to get a dragon, is actually to have multiple characters that are able to recruit that dragon. So I was using, you know, in most cases, 2 beast tamers, and you know it would be just okay. Well, try with the one. Okay, that didn't work. Try with the other one. You know, so on and so forth. But again, I just don't really like the process, and so much of it is, you know, character specific. So like, Kashua can recruit humans. She can actually recruit divine. I don't think I've even done that yet. Because I haven't run into those enemies quite yet. Valkyries can recruit humans. The Vartan, so Canopus can recruit fairies. Which I did recruit actually a couple of fairies. I didn't really like them, and I didn't end up using any, but you know, he's able to do that. Donalto still has the recruit human on him. Here's the Beast Tamer, as I was saying. So she's got the Tame, which is you know how you recruit dragons. You've also got Subdue, and so you can recruit beasts like the cockatrice and I don't know, the octopus. What else are the beasts? I think I think maybe these guys. I forget what these are. Yeah, the Cyclops. I think that's considered a beast. Also the Griffins. So yeah, you know, just match up the correct skill with the enemy type, get him as low as you can, and, you know, cross your fingers. But I really didn't like that. All right, last up here, the last tip I'm going to go over for newer characters is the world system. World unlocks after you've completed your first pass through the game. And the reason why I really wanted to bring this up is just so that you know that you don't have to worry too much. Like, if you didn't recruit a certain character, like you accidentally let them die in battle or something like that, and you did, or you didn't know that that character was even available, you don't have to start a brand new game. Basically, you get to replay different things throughout the game. And the way that this works is there are anchor points in the game. And generally, you know, a lot of them are before major plot points. So, like, here's the Chapter 1 plot point here in Balmamusa. And here, this is where you choose which route you're going to go. You either go Law or you go Chaos. And, you know, and then Chaos splits in Chapter 2. And you either you either go neutral route or you continue on with Chaos. But, anyways, it's great because you don't have to completely restart or do any, you know, I don't know, just you haven't screwed up your game entirely if you you know, let some NPC die or you didn't trigger something early enough. So basically what you do is you just go back to you know, your anchor points. So it's also very, very important though to keep in mind that let's just say you do Law first, which and is actually my opinion is the best way to go is to do Law your first pass through the game. So let's just say you've done Law and now you're ready to do, we'll say Chaos, and you're gonna do Chaos, right? So you go to this anchor point right here. This brings you back to, I mean, unfortunately, it's almost the beginning of the game, right? It's in Chapter 1. So you'll go back to this anchor point. And then in Balmamusa, you'll tell Leonard that, you know, you can't go with him or whatever that conversation was. And that'll start you into Chapter 2 Chaos. And then you can play through that, right? And then for your third playthrough, again, let's just say that you want to do neutral, right? Well, then you'll go to this anchor point here, which is the end of Chapter 2, and this is where you decide. You can either reconcile, well, so if you reconcile with Leonard, you end up in neutral. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you don't. I can't remember now. Is this neutral? Yeah, this is... No, I'm sorry. What is this? Is this Chaos? I can't remember now. Man, that's sad too, because I just did this the other day. Yeah, I can't remember which one is which. This must be neutral. Yeah, this must be neutral, because I think Gildas dies in neutral. Yeah, and you're hunting down Vice, and you're fighting Vice in neutral. That's right, yeah. So this is neutral, and then this is Chaos in here. But yeah, so anyways, it's not something that you need to worry too much about. The only other thing, though, that I would say is that, so let's just say, again, you've done Chapter 2 Law, and then you did, I don't know, we'll say you started on Chaos. Well, when it comes to Chapter 4, though, all of the stories kind of merge back together, but you know, the decisions that you've made most recently, if this makes sense, is what kind of carries over into Chapter 4. So, like, my first playthrough, I actually did neutral, I'm sorry, and then I had Kashua live. And then I played the rest of the game. My other two choices, though, I did Law, and Kashua died in my Law playthrough, and same with neutral. And so, if there's things that need to be done in Chapter 4 that require Kashua to be alive, well, then I would actually need to go back into Chapter 4, probably to, like, this anchor point here, and redo the stuff and make sure that Kashua is alive. Because otherwise it handles it as though Kashua is dead. Because if you've done it, you know, if you've played through and had Kashua die, and that was the last time that you did the Chapter 4 stuff, then the game is treating it as though Kashua is dead. So again, you just have to really keep that stuff in mind. I don't know how that, maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but it can affect some other things as well. Like specifically in Coda, there's the way that you recruit Warren is, I guess, Mirrodin and, God, is it? I think it's Mirrodin and Gildas need to be alive. And if you've gone through neutral, I think, Gildas is dead. And so you can't get Warren if you haven't overwritten your neutral playthrough. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So I guess just keep that in mind. It's again kind of a good idea in my opinion to do law first and then probably do neutral and then chaos last. I think it just makes the most sense from like a character recruitment standpoint, but you don't have to play it like that. That's just my recommendation. And again, there's no way to really screw it up. So, well, that's not true. You can screw things up pretty bad by doing that stuff. But anyways, that's probably going to be it. Again, I think that those are some of the things that I think are most important to keep in mind for newer players. You know, choose what weapon you think is best for you. But again, I just love daggers and bows, specifically one-handed bows. For tanks, again, I think hammers are best because they've got that weaken finisher. Other than that, yeah, I just unfortunately I wish the buff cards didn't exist, but they do. So, oh well. But anyways, as always, hope the guide was helpful, and thank you for watching.